It was cold on the table, anesthetized but definitely not dead. Perchance to dream, Shakespeare's Hamlet. Mixing memory with desire, T.S. Eliot. In the deep freeze of the social system. Like a duck. Picking the lice off the cat. Loving a cuddly cricket bat, a spade jaw chewing in the moor. The cows move stroboscopically. Urging the train to move, pushing the seat. From inside. TV dinner. Chris Martin, Liam, Dave Boot. Ian Jules the Underworld - The Tree on the Brampton. Phil Hargreaves. Socialism as morality, business. Sickness. Martin, Liam, Dave Boot, Phil Hargreaves. Health, Ian Jules. Birth. Past, present, future, and others. Memory, and others. Others' memory equals? Waste. Television, Venetian blinds. Didn't know how many more squiggles he could do on his own. The straight line of the church, ironically threatening perdition, and the gently caressing waves of the flesh were mere lines on the brain the vicar knew so little of his brain. Had he got it in his study now? Was he pensively studying the pellucid tissue himself? Jocasta hit him on the head with the Hoover tube. Duncan shouted help from his bedroom, probably got his head stuck up the chimney while playing Space Invaders with the revolving spheres. He lived in a sort of Toyland Newtonian universe. The present began to close in on him like the shadows across the typical summer lawn, and he wondered, he thought, doesn't want to think, vicar, really doesn't, please John, forgive me my sins. But he didn't mean it, in fact he was only talking to himself again. What a cliché, said the scorpion gleaming on the top shelf of Suspira's bedroom as he lay gently pushing out horrific poetry of the type that had tried to write on occasions previous to that moment. Work seemed to be looming somewhere under something or other, and was alone. Jocasta was clumping around somewhere below. Had she just closed the door of her heart? Had heard something bang too. That day, it was evening, he had had a very narrow brush. He had seen the first gimcrack of his life. A man was asked to drive cars up to Scotland. He was a clown. A little. Who, said the scorpion, pulsating little radio waves from his shiny pinpoint sting. Doesn't know, cannot pause. Paused. Was David trying to say something? Getting into spiritualism again. For goodness sake, remember what you are doing. But can't, forgive me Father for never giving the last thrust and scoring the goals, bang. God, as sincerely as I can possibly be, in Christ's name please let me not cause. Was going to say World War III, please Lord let me not cause or contribute to anything evil. Forgive me Father in Christ's name for breaking Jackie. Breaking Jackie? In the toymaker's room, the toymaker. A young perverse man ignorant of any but the vaguest unidentifiable noises. Apart from a child's snore, his toy inspiration, he sat just like a cartoon figure in Disney. His skin was smooth and he had two people in the lines of his skin. Behind him on the floor a plastic mule kicked. A picture of stubbornness. Part of a game that was slowly beginning to dawn in the sunset of Bernard's fantasy. Authority, he thought, or imagined he may have thought, that's what is in his voice. Had been talking to Bernard earlier on that day. A most peculiar relationship really. Bernard depended entirely, thought, wrong, upon his imagination and fantasy, and in fact they had never actually met, that's true, but perhaps was right. Perhaps Bernard did imagine that voice had authority? Actually, Bernard probably thought nothing of the sort, but wondered how he could get the mule to kick an opponent in a game of kangamuleering. The shadows flashed through the Venetian blinds. On. Off. Disney glistening face, sparkles of frost in the pores and in the lines. Flash. A man in a public house. The man who went to Scotland juggled, yes, juggled with all the parts of a car. He was a wizard. He could dismantle and put a car together as easily as Don Juan. The scorpion had become positively lethargic, slothful, and was beginning to introduce slime into the man's pocket. And thought, Christ help me. The myth? Had it returned? Would you ever learn? Urination.